Characteristics of a transaction processing system. Before we can understand characteristics of transaction processing systems, we first must understand what a transaction is. A transaction is a series of events important to an organization that involves a request, an acknowledgement, an action, and an outcome. There are several components of a transaction processing system. These include the purpose, data, information technology, processes, and participants. Batch transaction processing versus real-time transaction processing. Well, first we have to understand what batch transaction processing is. Well, firstly, batch processing is the collection and storage of data for processing at a scheduled time or when there is sufficient data. This means, firstly, with batch transaction processing, all of the transactions are collected to be processed at a later time, such as checks, invoices, and bills, such as telephones and electricity. There are cost and time-saving advantages to batch processing. Some advantages may include batch saves a lot of time and money when the organization has a large number of repetitious data entry tasks to do, which can be automated. These repetitious tasks may actually take an individual a long time to enter all of the data, so this can also save a large amount of time. However, there are some disadvantages. Disadvantages is all processing will be carried out at a set time. This usually involves a schedule. The transaction data will still need to be sorted and bundled, which can still be expensive. There are time delays between the initial transaction and the actual processing that the transaction has. Real-time processing. Real-time processing involves a transaction that is completed immediately. This may involve a payment over the counter or FBOS, but whatever is used to complete the transaction, it is immediately finalized and does not leave the process for a later time. Two examples of real-time processing are airline reservations and banking transaction systems. Data validation. Data validation is used to check the entry of transaction data. It involves procedures to ensure that transactions are correct and have been accurately stored in the database. Data validation involves transaction initiation and field checking. Transaction initiating is used to acknowledge that the TP monitor is ready to receive the transaction data. It is used in real-time processing to eliminate a number of possible errors. Field checking occurs when the transaction data is entered into a database. The data is organized then into files, records, fields, and characters. Data validation is carried out by checking the fields using a range of checks, list checks, type checks, or check digit.